Okay, so you were saying this about the K-Truck, like not being able to be swiped.
Yeah, I think the idea of creating an open source vehicle, an open source anything. I'm a big open source fan. I have been for
Same,
most of
yeah.
my life. It's only been recently that I've moved over to the dark side with iDevices, and that's because they just have bigger hard drives. Because I needed more hard drive space. But I'm a big fan of open source because it allows for collaboration. It allows for new ideas to come into the creation and improve upon it, right? Something that you don't get from a closed source environment. And so to hear Andy say, we're making a kit truck that you can build at home, and we're going to have the plans are already out there. You can, start doing this stuff yourself, allows for a lot more ingenuity, a lot more creativity, and a lot more collaboration. And I think, especially with the world burning down, we're going to see a lot more of that happening, where people are coming together in community to roll out new ideas and new ventures and new projects and things that people really need at a price point that people can afford.
Right.
Because
That's real.
the economics of living in America right now, well, anywhere in the world, but I live in America, so let's talk about that. The economics of living in America right now are very challenging, even if you're quote unquote middle income, right?
In the world of business, there are a lot of choices. There are a lot of lies. There are a lot of shortcuts. There are a lot of people taking those shortcuts and telling those lies. And then there are the people who choose to do it right. At a time when so often profit is king, those people are increasingly rare. But when those people are in charge, good things happen. Fortunately, some of those people are business owners. Some of those people are bosses. And we're here to showcase the best ones. I'm your host, Leela Sinha, with co-host Lisa Robin Young. Let's get started. So let's get started. My name is Leela Sinha. This is Lisa Robin Young, my co-host, and this is PowerPivot Season 3, Episode 5. And we're going to talk about Andy Diderosi and his company Mutiny Motors, and maybe some of his other projects, and kind of where he's gone and the kinds of things he's been able to do, because he's got a fairly impressive list of stuff that he does. And how he's built with community to make all of these projects happen. I think we are in a moment historically where community is absolutely of vital importance, and you can really see that it's not just some hippy dippy la la pie in the sky, which that's me, like, don't get me wrong, but it's not just that. It's also like commerce and companies and things that could potentially make money. And I think that's an important perspective to bring to the table, especially when we're talking about something like open source, which I don't know if it predates software, but my first exposure to open source was open source software, which is the kind of thing that just inspires forking, right? Like, you just fork off. So to fork off of a project is to take what's there and then take it off in another direction.
We are actively looking for ways to secure our nest eggs, save some green, give ourselves some more breathing room financially that doesn't end up putting us deeper in debt. And open source is a great way to approach that, because
Right.
then anybody who's got a great idea can go, well, I took what you had and I did this to it to make it even better or more affordable or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really down with the whole idea of what he's trying to create and how he set it up so that it prevents corporate America, the
Right.
big titans of industry, from obtaining his plans and locking everybody else out and blocking him. It's like, no, this is all open source. Anything related to it is open source. If you try to iterate on it, it's open source. You can't claim it as your own. It's Creative Commons essentially for product, and any derivative work you create from it, we can derive from you too.
Right. This is the people's truck.
Yeah.
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 And as Lisa was saying, as you were saying, that we're watching this project where Andy is encouraging people to fork his project. He's making sure that people have access to the plans. He's like, yes, I'll sell a kit, sure, if you want that. But also, I will just sell the plans. If you have like a pipe bender and you want to go to town and build your own roll cage, have at it.
Yeah. And the thing that really excites me about this, and I mean, I think we need to, full disclosure, this project is not profitable yet. He's using money from his racing to help, fund the project. He's got a lot of volunteer support on this. He's 5 years in. They still don't have the vehicle complete. And still, there's a lot of enthusiasm for this. There are a lot of people who want to see him win. There are a lot of people who are, showing up to support him and like literally coming out and like, let's tear off this roof and put a new roof on for you.
He has a whole YouTube video about that if you want to look it up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a testament to how when you've got a vision that people can get behind, you don't have to be, I'm saying this, Andy's got a great personality to woo people in. He really does.
Sure.
But even if he didn't, the idea, right? The vision behind this is what I want to do is attractive enough to a large enough audience that people are like, when can I get in? When is this coming out? Like, he just did a video of like the top 10 questions that, he's been getting, and they're like, when and what kind of features? And so these are buyer questions. These are people who are like, I want this, let's make it happen. And that's always a good sign when you're a business owner, that you've got a crowd of hungry people who want to get in on what it is that you're offering. He's just got to get that timeline shortened up so that he can actually, bring it to market.
Yeah, and I think it's on Discord. His Discord community is a paid community. Like, people are just putting $5 in the pot every month to be connected, to be part of the conversation. He's got highly skilled people who are part of his volunteer crew. He's got designers. He's got engineers. He's got so it's not just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go throw some paint on a car in my spare time. Like, it's not that. It's like people who actually know what they're doing and can actually design it. Now, the car is not. I think he may have originally started with a different vision. I don't know. But the current version of the project is that it's going to be not necessarily street legal, depending on which city you're in.
Right.
It's going to be, his target market is really people who have acreage and need a thing to tool around their acreage. And I imagine that his competition for this, there's not really competition, but I imagine that the things that are most like it are like the four-wheeled kind of hopped up off-road golf carts. I don't know what they're called, but those four-wheeled vehicles that people sometimes use in that role. It used to be three-wheelers, and they used to not have roofs, but now they have roofs and cargo spaces, and they've gotten improved over the years. And then he's like, there will be 2 different keys, and if I sell it to you in a state where it could be street legal, then I'll give you the key that takes it up to 60 miles an hour. And if I sell it to you in a state that doesn't allow these to be street legal, then I'll give you the key that only takes it up to whatever the ceiling is. So I think that he's really pragmatic, which I really appreciate. And I think that helps to keep that energy and that momentum and that interest moving. Because if he said, oh no, we're going to do this impossible thing, and it really was like legally impossible, people would have jumped ship by now. But every time there's an obstacle, he gets on YouTube, he gets on a short video, he talks about what the obstacle is, what he's doing about it, how he's working through it. And I think that kind of communication is really critical to this community-based development process.
Yeah, I think one of the big selling points of watching Andy's project come to life is the level of transparency and depth of communication. He's like, I will answer all the questions in the comments. If you know somebody who, I'd be interested to connect with them. Like, he's very open it's open source communication. It's open source community. It's not just an open source truck, right? Like
Right.
this is an ethos that permeates everything that he's about. And he's not afraid to say, you know, we've had a lot of problems with break-ins. We've had a lot of problems with roof damage, and we've had a lot of problems, you know, that have really slowed this project down. And we are still moving forward, and we're trying to find a solution for this. And then we find a solution. And then now this new thing comes up, and we're trying to find a solution for that. And we find a solution, right? Or somebody comes out of the community and says, hey, I can help. You know, I can give you 3 days of labor or whatever. And while I'm saying, you know, this isn't a profitable business yet, I also think, but I also think that it's important to talk about what is working here, right? Like, this is a different way of doing business that isn't necessarily about what the bottom line says at the end of the day, at least not right now, right?
Right.
This is about the people, and the whole project has always been about the people. And his last project with the free bus rides was about the people and about the community, right? Like, so he's
Why don't you outline that project for folks so they know what it is?
Sure. So before he decided he was going to launch this car company, he launched a program in the Detroit area that gave free bus rides, and I think it was to students that were busing across town or whatever. And so he had one bus, and he was like, if you get on the bus, we'll take you to the destination, and you don't have to pay, and anybody can ride, and, you know, all that. And that one bus became several buses and several routes across the Detroit area that are totally free. And I can't remember what is paying for it right now off the top of my head. I can't remember what is paying for it, but it's grown because everybody wants to support it and be a part of it and see it do good, right? And that's the same thing that we're witnessing with his car company. And, you know, in my mind, I'm going, and that is a business model, right? Right now, it's not a profitable, sustainable business model for the car company, but it's working for the bus company, right? It is doing what it needs. It is creating enough revenue to sustain itself and keep itself going. It is doing what it needs to do. So that is a viable business model. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out for the car company, because we are so used to, as business owners in the entrepreneurial world, we are so used to seeing, well, it's got to make a profit, and it's got to kick back this much money to investors, and it's got to do, right? Like that way that business is quote unquote supposed to look and feel. We don't have that experience with Andy's car company. Mutiny,
no, because he doesn't have that kind of investor.
Exactly. His investors are the people who give a damn, right? The people who are like here for the project. This is like the world's longest Kickstarter, and people are still like, I want this. I really, really want this. What can I do to speed this along? And he's got people all over the country, right? This isn't just
all
a
over the world,
Detroit
actually.
thing. I believe it. Yeah, I mean, this is not just a hey, it's made in Detroit, and I mean, I'm all for the Detroit hustle, you know, my home state. I'm here for it. And he's created something that is so attractive and so appealing that people are like, whatever we need to do, we're in. We are 100% in. And I think
you want us to bring our knee pads and rip roofing off the roof? We'll come. It turned out for that project, spoiler, that he had to hire help. He had to get professionals in because it was just going too slowly. But the fact that so many people were willing to show up, and some of them drove from not close to be part of it.
Right.
And I think the Kickstarter comparison is a really interesting one, because so often we sign up for Kickstarter, we back a Kickstarter project that has a physical product at the end of it, and we think we're going to get the product, and then it just disappears. And it's not like, or it becomes much less than what it was supposed to be, or major features are changed. And there's no, there might be a little bit of communication, but there's not a lot of communication about it.
Right. And part of that is the function of a crowdfunding site in particular, right? They're like, you have X number of days. Right. And some sites let you pick the number of days, and some sites don't. And some sites say, you got to have it fully funded, and some sites don't. And so you as the business owner have to think in your mind and plan out ahead. Well, I should be able to deliver this by this day. And we are all looking at best case scenarios when we make those projections. Nobody's going, and if the world burns down and supply chains shut down, then I can have this to you in 3 years. Like, and if you
there's
said
a pandemic,
3 years,
nobody put a pandemic on their map in 2020.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
not nobody. There were epidemiologists who were like, it's coming someday. But most of us did not put a pandemic.
Most of us who don't have that area of expertise, we're not looking for that. And that's the thing. Like, when you are making these kinds of projections, you're betting on the future, and no one knows the future. All it is ever is a guess, sometimes an educated guess, but it's still a guess. And so you have these crowdfunding sites that are like, if you went on and said this will be delivered in 3 years, nobody would fund your project.
Right.
So you're like, it'll be done by, 9 months from now, or 10 months from now, or whatever. And 10 months comes and you're like, yeah, we're not there yet. Right. And so for him to basically be able to crowdsource off of one of those third-party platforms and crowdsource in his own space, again, I think is a testament to the kind of draw that he can get from social media to his platform. And again, it's a big vote for, I'm not a fan of third-party. I'm not, again, open source, right? Open source. Third-party platforms serve a purpose, but there's often so many restrictions that it can make it very difficult for you to create something that's profitable and sustainable, because you're beholden to whatever their timelines are, whatever their guidelines are. And I know they exist for a reason. I know they exist to protect your backers. I get it. And sometimes, because you can't predict, it just makes it really chance. One of the reasons why I've never done a crowdfunding project, because I'm like, I do not own a crystal ball. I cannot tell you for sure if this is going to happen or when or how.
I can get you a crystal ball, but I can't guarantee its accuracy.
Right, exactly. I mean, like, I can hold it. I can pretend.
You can pet it. Right.
But like, to really know, no, there are too many moving parts and too many variables. And when you're talking about a vehicle, that's
Good
exponential.
Lord. Right,
Absolutely
because you've got all kinds of regulatory issues to clear, and you've got design issues to clear. And here he is tearing down a Tesla Model 3 to get the engine out of it, so the motor out of it, so he can put it in this thing. And then he's like, okay, so if this is his other project, his hero project, or what do they call it, hero project?
He's doing a racing truck right now.
Yeah, he's doing a racing truck. And he's like, if this goes that fast, we will break the frame. So now we have to rebuild the entire frame. But the thing is, he takes us along for all of it. Unlike so many Kickstarter projects, not all of them, but a lot of them, he just brings us along. He's like, so we thought we were going to just throw this in here, but no, because my engineers tell me that I will destroy the truck by starting it if I don't rebuild the entire frame to take, and then he goes into the physics, right? Like, his background is in racing. He understands the physics, and he will explain it in a way that he thinks his audience will mostly be able to get it. And I think people really appreciate that aspect of the project too, that he's not just, murder, technical, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, so this is what it looks like. Here's a picture. This is what would happen if we put this motor in this car without reinforcing it. So we're going to reinforce it, but it's going to take us some time, right? And he says that a lot. So we're going to do this, but it's going to take some time. And because of that, I think his people continue to have trust for the most part. I mean, every time he posts a video, of course, there are people like, oh, yeah, sure, this is never going to work. But, like, he also is really resilient. He's like, it might not work, but I'm going to try.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I will say about Andy. Like, he has had multiple projects over the years. He went in with, I think, a couple of partners and got a building. And they were like, we're going to create essentially a co-working space, but like a maker co-working space. Right. And they had that for several years. And then they closed that and they moved on to something else. And for him, like, he's got an experimenter's mindset, right? Yes. I'm going to try this because I think it can work. Let's find out if it can work. Now, luckily, he also has the resources to be able to do that. Not everybody could go 5 years on a project and not see it produce revenue. He has his racing is his sugar daddy, basically, you know? And that's great, right? Like, I think it's very important for especially people in the startup world to recognize that it's not always a winner right out of the bat. And it is smart to have backup funding so that you're not beholden to an investor who's got a timeline and wants to see an ROI in the next 60 days.
And is looking for a unicorn.
Right.
Like investors aren't just looking for a reasonable return. They're looking for the next unicorn, and they get really impatient if they're not finding it.
Right. And unicorn almost always means very low overhead, super high profitability, which means no people.
Right.
And so this is very much the opposite. This is very much a people-powered organization. It's a very much a people-powered mindset, a community-powered mindset. Not just people, community, everybody coming together.
Interconnected
and
people.
To your point earlier about there are always people in the comments who say this is never going to happen. Haters going to hate, right? Like there's always somebody, and every time you make a decision, and this is old like email marketing, right? Like back in the olden days of the internet, when my early dinosaur days, they said, when you've got an opt-in form, you don't want to have more than the name and the email address, because every extra field you see, it's friction, and you see, a 10 or a 50% decline in your opt-ins, right? Well, same thing here. Every time you're going to make a change, every time you've got an announcement of a setback, you're going to see some people walk away from it because they're like, I'm done waiting, or it's just one more hassle. It's never going to work, right? Like, those are not the people that you're here for anyways. Like, get over that. Get over that right away. You're here for the people who are invested and rabid for and hungry for that thing you said you wanted. Those are the people you need to be talking to. Those are the people you need to be listening to, right? Those other people, they may come out of the woodwork periodically and give you grief, but they're not your people. They're really not.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason to give them a time and attention. Like, no, just don't bother.
That's right.
So when I think about what Andy is doing, what I think Andy is doing is creating businesses around community, and this one happens to be an open source truck. But in order to be building a business around community, we have to be building a business around values. And I know my longtime listeners will be like, there you go again, talking about values. but first of all, yes, of course, I'm a minister. That's one of the things I talk about.
Sure.
And also I'm an ethics consultant. That's one of the things I talk about. But also, that's how you pull a community together. Like, you can have a common project, but a common project by itself with no common values, the people won't stick. What you get is a common value, the common values that are like, we are committed to an open source truck, right? The minute you're committed to an open source project, you're bringing values to the project. It doesn't have to be more than that, but in this case it is. Every time he has the opportunity to be a jerk, he's not. And that matters.
Yeah. Well, and I think for those people who are rolling their eyes at the idea of values, even that is a value, right?
Yeah.
Like, you cannot be a human being on planet Earth and not have something that you value. You cannot build a business on planet Earth that doesn't have something that you're valuing. Now, that could just be, I value the almighty dollar and the bottom line, which, I mean, I'm sorry for you. That's kind of sad. But if you are a person, you have values. And especially if you are a solo or a micro business owner, or you're an early stage startup entrepreneur and you don't have a huge team, your values guide the direction of whatever it is that you're trying to create. Like, the personal and the professional are intertwined. You can't pretend that they're not. So if you're rolling your eyes at the idea of business values, sorry, that's not
actually a thing.
Right. Your values are already on display, right? Like, that tells me very clearly what you value and what you don't. So don't pretend that values aren't important. They are. When I'm working with clients, that's one of the very first places we look. I'm always like, right. Who are you? What really matters to you? That I always start with you. Sorry, Simon, I don't start with why, I start with you. Who are you? What are you about? And then, why does this matter? Who are you here for? What are you offering? How are you delivering it? Like, that's how I build business models with people. You have to start with values and beliefs and the things that you hold dear, because everything else comes out of that.
And when you're not adhering to your values in how you treat, this is where I start. And when you're not adhering to your values in how you treat yourself, everything's going to go to hell. And the reason everything's going to go to hell is because eventually you will resent that.
Yep.
And as soon as you start to resent that, you'll start to carve out exceptions to the rules for yourself. And when you start to carve out exceptions to the rules for yourself, if you have other people, they're going to resent you having exceptions. And if you have any little tiny hole where something could get through that's not quite the right thing to do, at some point it's going to slip through that hole. So we want to keep you satisfied and happy, yes, but also in alignment. Because when you're in alignment with your own values and your company's choices are in alignment with your values, then there's no room for things to go, well, there's very little room for things to go off track. Everything can always go off track, but...
Yeah, and I think a lot of people hear the word alignment and they're like, oh, you're getting woo-woo. Or like spinal alignment. People, like, we're just talking about things lining up in, a congruent, harmonious way, right? Where things have to come together and match up. Do your values match up? Are you walking your talk, right? Like that's what alignment is here. This is not some metaphysical thing. It is like truly how are you saying, are you saying one thing and doing another, or are you showing up exactly the way you said you wanted to be showing
right.
up and believe in showing up, right? Like that congruency, it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And it like you said, it could be super simple. It could be, if you're running a company whose entire job is to reduce fossil fuel use, you better have a really good reason for driving a big truck. There might be you might be driving an electric truck, but there might be a really good reason for you to be driving a big truck. Maybe you're hauling around like the clean ocean stuff. I can't remember what the project is called. There's a project that's cleaning up the oceans. And they have like big equipment. You might need a big diesel truck to haul around the big equipment to like fish plastic out of the ocean. You can't really get around that, right? Or the ships might need to run on diesel because that's what has the power to do the thing. So it's often complex. It's not necessarily perfectly straightforward and oh, I saw you did this one thing and now you're canceled. Don't get me started on canceling. We'll be here all day.
Right.
There's such strong feelings about not doing that in most cases. But making sure that there's that all of the factors have been weighed and that you're coming out in an aligned way, right, so that your stuff that you're doing and the other stuff that you're doing makes sense together.
Yeah.
So that you're not, taking a depressant and a stimulant at the same time and then wondering why you feel weird. You're gonna feel weird.
Right. I think you highlighted something like when we have something that's complex, we have nuance. And so often in the business world, we're either not allowed to, or we're not thinking about, or we're not considering the nature of nuance, right? The same move that can save one company can destroy another, right? Well, True. They did it. Well, yeah, but just because they did it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And that can be mindset, that can be hiring practices, that can be, supply chains, that could be any number of things. You have to look at the bigger picture and recognize, well, how do these things fit for what we are trying to do? And if it doesn't make sense, don't just do it because you heard somebody else say that, or that's the in thing to do or whatever. Like, you really have to be mindful of, well, this is how we're wired. This is what our organization is about. This is what our organization values. How about that? And then how are our options to execute on whatever it is that's in front of us? How do they come into play and how do they work? And sometimes that means we're going to make a less than stellar choice in this moment because it's the right move for us to make right now to get us to the next place.
Right.
We talk a lot about shopping at big box stores and big online real retail outlets, and it's like sometimes it's the only choice you have because of where you live or whatever. That doesn't make you an evil person. It makes you beholden to the system because that's what's in front of you. And when you have the resources to choose differently. Right? Like, accept where you are and what you have and what you can do. Do what you can as you are able, and when you are able to do more, do different, do better.
Yeah, and sometimes it's efficiency, and sometimes it's timing, and sometimes it's just I don't know where else to buy this cable except online. Now I have my choice of online retailers, but this online retailer is going to take 3 weeks to get it to me, and I need it for something that's happening next week. So now I know to plan ahead, I guess, if I want to buy from the other place. But sometimes all the pieces just don't come together. And I think we have to make room for humanity in this values alignment. I think a lot of people are like, oh, if I have a values aligned company, then like I can't breathe without, setting up 16 different, pins and making sure I knock them all over in order. And it's just that's not pragmatic. You have to have room for pragmatism in a values aligned company. But we can't listen to the story that says that if you are at all pragmatic, then you can't include your values.
Right. I say this often. Ethics are a spectrum, right? There is no 100% fully ethical organization on planet Earth. Like, it's just not a thing.
There's no ethical breathing on Earth at this point.
Right, exactly. Unless you're planting a tree every time you inhale, there's just not, like, that's not a thing. So what we want to do then is, like, minimize the harm that we're causing, maximize the benefit that we're creating, right? Like, that's the goal. It's not to be perfect in it, Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. It's like, that's not possible. But we can continue to strive to do better, continue to strive to improve, continue to strive to be more inclusive and be more, wide focus instead of so very narrow and like very limited parochial. This is it's all about me, right? Like we can't thrive that way.
Yeah. It's very easy for me, just my personality, my intensiveness, my other characteristics. It's very easy for me to get. So I'm like, well, if I can't do it perfectly, then why bother? Right. And it shows up everywhere in my life. I'm like, well, if I can't clean the sink perfectly, then why bother? Oh, if I can't, learn to do web pages perfectly, then why bother? But also, like, I need a web page and I can't afford to pay someone else to do it perfectly, and they won't do it perfectly either. And I'll be just like fretful and dissatisfied all the time, unless and until I make space for, we're going to do the best we can. It's harm reduction, but it's harm reduction kind of on a life-wide scale, where it's like, okay, well, this time I have to buy single-use plastic. That time I can, buy something that's more reusable plastic, or, more durable plastic, or steel or glass, or, whatever it is that I need for the space. It took me forever to figure out what kind of soap vessel I could use near bathtubs and sinks and stuff like that, because like porcelain breaks. That's the classic, environmentally correct, but it breaks. And so finally I discovered that there were some steel ones. Now, does steel use a lot of water to produce? Sure, but it also lasts basically forever. So I don't feel that bad about having, like a steel squirty soap bottle. And yes, it has plastic at the top where the squirting part is, because that doesn't work very well in metal. But, it's that kind of like, is it perfect? No. Can I imagine that there might be a better solution in the world? Yes. Is this the best solution for me right now that meets me where I am? Yes. And I think we see that, bring it back to Mutiny Motors, I think we see that in Andy's project, because every time he runs into an obstacle, he's not like, oh, well, I guess I'm never going to do that again, right? So partway, we didn't really tell the history of the project. He bought an old abandoned car factory in Detroit.
Yeah.
And then he set about kind of starting his project in it and repairing it at the same time. And at some point that stopped working entirely. And so he had to stop and redo the roof because he was just losing too much to the leaky roof. But in the meantime, he every so often he'll see something online and he'll be like, oh, I should buy that. But like, this is not Facebook Marketplace. Like, I go on Facebook Marketplace and I'm like, oh, look at that coat or those shoes or that spinning wheel. That looks like something I should have in my house. I should definitely buy. I'm a fiber artist, among other things. So spinning wheel is not impossible. I bought my loom off of Facebook Marketplace. But he'll go online and he'll be like, oh, look, they're selling a lot of factory robots because they changed their tooling. I would like those factory robots. So he did this. He actually bought a truckload of factory robots that they were so heavy they had to be transported by rail. And then like just the last mile came to his factory on, a heavy duty tractor trailer. And then he had to figure out how to get them out of the trailer because he lost the key and like all of these adventures, right? But he's constantly solving the problem. He's constantly advancing the process, and he's constantly making room for his own humanity and everyone else's, which I think, for me anyway, is part of the feel-good experience of following his projects. I've been following him for, I don't know, months, a year, and a part of the appeal is that I'm watching somebody do this like moonshot type project, and he's not Google. Right, Google does moonshot projects all the time. They eat them for breakfast, but they also have money and people and resources and all this stuff. I'm watching him do this moonshot project, which is not his first. Right. And I'm watching him do it, be like, oh, I guess I should buy a factory. Oh, I guess I should buy some factory robots. We're not going to use them yet, but we'll use them eventually. And then in the middle of all this, he's like, I should buy. So there was a place nearby him that was selling an entire screen printing setup for T-shirts and like bags and whatever. And he was like, that would be a great additional thing for us to have, because then we can just make merch for the project however and whenever we want without dealing with anybody's restrictions on it. This is a perfectly good rig. It's just this company is basically not going to be doing it this way anymore. And I like doing things the old-fashioned way. This is old-fashioned, like it's automated, but it's the old style screen printing. It's not some weird computerized thing. And so he has this whole screen printing rig on the second floor of the factory. And he's like, I think I'm probably going to need to get someone to run this, because I thought I could do it myself, but I can't. And he just says that. He just says it. Do you know how, but like for the listeners, like, do you know how much shame is put on small business owners who think they can do something and then have to walk it back? And he's like, no, that's fine. I thought I could. Can't. Gonna get someone in here. Maybe I'll get a volunteer. Maybe eventually I'll wait until I can hire someone. Maybe a combination of both. I don't know. But like, this is more than I can do if I want to keep the original project moving forward. And I really need to do that. So I'm going to prioritize that. And then he just moves on. Like, I don't know what the inside of his head is like, but it certainly doesn't feel like he spends a lot of time, recriminating.
No, I think my experience of everything that I've seen from Andy is that he's an experimenter first and an entrepreneur second, right? Like,
and a business owner like fourth.
Right, exactly. It's like, I want to make this a going concern, so there's an entrepreneurial mindset, but before any of that, he's like, what can we do? What's possible? Let's see. I have an idea. Here's a hypothesis. Let's test it, right?
Right.
And sometimes it turns out great, and sometimes it doesn't. I know that his incubator space didn't last very long, just a few years, and it's like, well, maybe it didn't take off. Maybe the partners, like something made him decide that was not the thing, and he moved on. And especially when
also great inspiration for our ADHD listeners who are not always willing to, like, you don't have to stick with something, just move on. Right.
If it's not serving you, if it's not doing what you want it to do, if you're not feeling it anymore, I would hope that you would close it out with some level of respect to the people who were there at the time, but you can let it go. You can move on to the thing that really is calling your heart. And I really appreciate how he doesn't have a problem with being very clear about, that's just not the way it's not going to work that way. If we're going to keep doing it, we got to find a different way. Mm-hmm. Right. And he doesn't give up necessarily, but he does recognize when it's beyond his scope. And then he's like, well, if we're going to keep doing it, it won't be me. It'll be somebody else or something else. Right. And I think that's another thing that we as entrepreneurs need to recognize is that just because we can doesn't mean we should. And if you're trying to do all of the things, that means you're going to be left holding all of the things. And that makes it really hard for you to see the bigger landscape because you're too busy holding all the things. So there will come a point where you have to take some of those hats off and you have to trust other people with your vision.
Oh, no.
That doesn't mean you just trust anybody, but I mean, you do have to open up, you have to release the Vulcan death grip of control and let some other people, participate and share their gifts. And that's the cool thing about what he's done with this whole open source concept is he's invited those people in right from the jump.
Right. Yeah. He's like, you want to be part of the design? You have ideas? Come join me. If you have these skills, come join me over here. If you have those skills, come join me over there. Like the Discord is all these different channels for all these different aspects of production. And, sometimes he's more communicative there than other times, which I think is also really common with founders who are really passionate about their projects. Like they get into the project and they don't always tend the community. I think it's really wise to bring on somebody, and I don't know if he's done this or not, to bring on somebody or a couple of somebody's whose job it is to tend the community and to keep you plugged in and keep you attending to it. That's one of the functions that I'm doing I'm working on a software project right now, and that's one of the things I do is I kind of watch the community and watch the founder interact with the community, and every so often I'm like, go say this, go do that.
It's time for an update. They need to see your face. Yeah.
Right. You've been quiet for too long. I know you're into this or distracted by that, but like, go say something, fluff the community, fluff. And what he often does is if he's been quiet for a while, he'll come back with a big update, a video, like a bunch of conversation. And that gets people going again because he never quite, like his instinct for when it's getting a little too low and he needs to do this is pretty good.
Well, and he never stops filming, right? Like there's always...
He's always filming.
Right. And so even when it's been a while since you've heard from him, that there's a big update coming with a whole lot of B-roll and a whole lot of footage. He's like, cue the rain montage. And I'm like, it's 6 days of rain and all of these different camera angles. So, I mean, he was still documenting the journey even though he hadn't checked in. And he's not afraid to show you what you missed in that intervening time. That's been really helpful for me as I am, clocking all of the footage that I've been filming for the reality show that I'm trying to build. It's don't just keep filming. Never stop filming. Let the camera roll because you never know when that little piece of that one little clip is going to be the thing that like sets the tone for whatever you're working on. And he does a really good job of making sure that you see the real.
Right. And that you understand that it's complicated and it's messy and sometimes the roof falls in and sometimes you got to tarp stuff over and sometimes there's so much rain that you just have to hold your breath and cross your fingers and hope the electronics didn't get fried, which they didn't. He got lucky, right? Yeah. And then him, periodically he mentions his other funding sources. And he brings people, he's like, I'm going racing. Here's where you can watch about my racing this weekend, right? And so and like he brings you along on the drive to get to the race, and when the car breaks down he brings you along on that too. And it's like it is a little bit like a reality TV show in that there's just everything is there and he doesn't know what he's going to get, but he's also not afraid of getting something he wasn't expecting.
Right. And it never comes across as performative reality, right? Like he's not just showing the highlight reel or just showing the tragedy. He's like, this is it, warts, sparkles, and all. It's like all the bits and bobs, and you get to get your hands dirty just like I do, right? Like come along, and we'll see what we see. And again, that experimenter's mindset of we won't know until we show up, and now we're here, and oh hey look, now we've got this to deal with, and what are we gonna do? How are we gonna problem solve? How are we gonna figure this out? And I think he does a really good job of bringing us along for the ride, but also showing us that problems are normal and problems are okay. Like problem solving is part of the gig.
Which I think is hugely important right now because so many, especially younger people that I'm encountering are afraid to experiment, afraid to like, if you hand them a device and you don't tell them how it works and it's not immediately obvious, they're kind of afraid to touch it. And I'm like, I don't understand where that came from because I came up in the era where if you wanted to understand computers, you had to get your hands on the keyboard. And so it's a great exercise too. Like I imagine that teachers could even use these videos to help encourage students to build their problem solving and their creative thinking skills Because
Well, and their skill at asking for help.
right.
Like that to me, as a recovering all or nothinger who is like, I can't ask for help because that's a sign of weakness.
Right.
To watch other people effortlessly say, hey, I could really use some support on this. If you've got skills, I would love to hear from you. Right. Like a lot
and
of
to
times,
be so clear about what he's looking for.
Exactly.
Right?
And
this is a moment when I
calm.
need
There's
an engineer.
Right. There's no anxiety around it. There's none of that. And for me, learning how to ask for help was like, I didn't have good role models to ask for help.
Right.
And so it was like, oh, is that all I have to say to ask for help? I don't have to come and go, I was wondering if you could kind of maybe sort of please kind of.
Right.
And he's just like, hey, I could use an engineer. If you happen to be one or no one, send them my way. And I'm like,
right.
That's how you ask for help? That was so
That's
easy.
it?
Right, that's all? That's all? Really? Okay. Right. Okay. I'll practice.
How okay. I could use
Yes, without begging, without all of
right.
the emotional baggage. And again, that's that experimenter's mindset of, I don't know what I need, I don't know what I don't know, and I can own that I don't know what I don't know. But if you know it, I would love to hear from you. I would love to get
right.
your perspective on this. And and there's no and I'll try and figure out how to pay you because nobody works for free. And don't get me wrong, I think people should be paid, and that's a different conversation than asking for help, right?
Right.
Because people showed up who didn't work for free to help with this roof, right? And so that's the
and
other
with everything
piece of
else.
this.
Like people have been
Right.
showing
Oh,
up
yeah,
to help
absolutely.
with all kinds of stuff. I think it's
Right.
important to raise charisma, like specifically charisma, because not everybody can just throw out a request for help and get a couple thousand people being like, yeah, sure, I'll show up.
Sure.
And I think that's who he is. That's how he is. That's what he knows how to do. And it's one of his gifts. It's not even a skill set. It's a gift. Now,
Right.
you can build the skill of drawing people in. Absolutely. That is a buildable skill. But natural charisma is another whole thing. And the other part is his enthusiasm. He's just so, I don't mean this at all reductively, but he's just so cute. He's like, I'm excited about this thing. And when was the last time you saw that kind of enthusiasm and wonder and joy about a project that keeps getting stuck?
Right. And in my early days as a coach for direct sellers, I would say, sales is really just about sharing what you're enthusiastic about. When you share your enthusiasm, other people get enthused and they want to be part of that magical energy, and it makes it easier for people to say yes to whatever it is that you have to offer. And you can see that
about that. You should totally have a class about that. Because so many people are like, selling is icky and weird, and then other people make them feel like selling is icky and weird. But if you're excited about it, I want to hear about it. I love the excitement.
Yeah.
Like, I love to just listen to people be excited about things. So if you want to be excited about your thing at me, that sounds great.
Yeah. And it hardly ever comes across as a sales pitch because you're just
Right.
so excited, and people are like, I am so excited for you, and this feels really great, and I want some of those endorphins, please. And then,
Right.
oh, you've got this thing you're selling? All right, cool, great,
Yeah. But you really don't have to sit on, I have this thing I'm selling, like the current sales cycle stuff of like, I have this thing I'm selling, there's a timed, you can buy it within this particular time for less money with more bonuses. Like, no. Just be excited. Be excited. Tell me what you got. Tell me where to find it. Tell me when it's not going to be available anymore if it's limited. That's it. That's all I need to know. And so you can spend the entire time just being your absolutely rock bottom core geeky self and just geeking out about your thing. Geek out about your spreadsheet. Geek out about geek out about your budget plan. Geek out about your I don't know, your hair stuff or your clothing or whatever it is. I just want to see you be geeky. Like Reels. Right. Facebook Reels has finally figured out that if they just feed me recipes and woodworkers and historic sewists, I will watch reel after reel after reel and save a whole bunch of reels. And now I've moved into, so part of the reason that I'm literally sitting in a closet is because this is the acoustically best space in my house. We just moved in. We don't have our furniture yet.
Say your new house, right? Yeah.
Yeah, new, but 1927. And so the wooden windows are, the windows in this room don't open yet. They used to. They probably will again someday. But I've gotten into watching all these reels of people doing historic window restoration. Because I was looking up, how do you reglaze a window and how do you do this? And suddenly my Facebook reels, of course, are full of that. And like just watching someone who really knows their way around a hand plane and has a really sharp hand plane, planing something until it fits perfectly, like that is so satisfying.
Yeah.
Like you watch those
long
the
curls
come
craftsmanship,
off.
right?
Yeah.
Right. But the skill that it takes, right? It's not just watching the curls come off. It's knowing that person has done that so many times that it can fit perfectly. My grandpa was a carpenter, and the hanging of the picture frame in somebody's office, and tap tap tap, and that'll be $50. $50, all you did was drive a nail. Well, no, I drove a nail, but I knew where to drive that nail. I knew how hard to hit it. I knew exactly how to make sure it was level. All of that
I didn't
stuff.
Crack
and
your
that's
plaster.
why
I just
didn't
put the
crack
nail in.
Yep. That's right. I did everything right, and that's why it's costing you this amount of money instead of just 12 cents for a nail or whatever. And
right.
That level of care and commitment, and I think we see that with Andy too, right? Like he's working on this racing truck, and he's like, we're gonna have to rebuild this because it's not gonna be up to spec. It's not gonna do the job we want it to do. It's not right. We want it to be better. We really want this thing to have some kick, and if we want it to have kick, we got to redo this frame, right? We got to pull it all out and start over. My mom used to crochet, and she'd have to pull out 3 or 4 rows because she missed a stitch or something. And I'm like, it's just one stitch. What do you? No, you drop one stitch, the whole thing's off. You got to pull it all out, and gotta make it right. I'm like, okay, make it right. I will
admit that sometimes when I'm knitting, I fudge it, but I have to look at it and see if I can live with the fudging. And that's that humanity piece, right? Like we want it to be good. We want it to be as good as it can be. And also sometimes there's room for humanity. Sure. Fitting windows is not really a room for humanity kind of activity.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah. And that craftsmanship and feeling the trust when you can trust someone to create something well. Yeah. Like that is it changes your emotional relationship to the institution and to the person. Right. And so when you see someone, on the software project that I'm working on, there have been several times where the founder / lead developer has just taken an entire thing that he's built and wiped it out and started over. Because the way that it was built originally doesn't work with kind of the best way to build it going forward. And we talk all the time about, we both know that a big software company would just kind of, trowel over a little bit of spackle and keep going.
Yeah, it's good enough. Let's fail forward. Yeah.
Right. But they are so committed to building a really strong, good app. And one of the things they're doing that I really admire is they're building in both iOS and Android simultaneously. They are an iOS person, but they're building in both at the same time because it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And in our business, one of the things I love about working with them and supporting their project is that when we're having our business conversations, we're in a I guess it's a meeting, like it's just the two of us, but when we're talking about what should happen next and how it should be built, we're always like, is this the right thing to do? And if it's not the right thing to do, that's the end of the conversation. We don't have to have any more justification. We don't have to have any more thinking about it. If it's not the right thing to do, we're not going to do it. If there's some piece of it that is the right thing to do, we'll figure out how to hook it and bring it back in some other way. But we see this in Andy over and over again, where if his values aren't being met, if sort of the abstract right thing to do isn't being met, then he's not doing it. It's like, well, we'll just have to do something else.
Yep. And again, that whole, I'm going to stay in my lane. This is a great idea and this is a cool thing, but if it's going to get done, it's not going to get done by me because that's beyond my scope of ability or spoons or whatever it is, right? And understanding your limitations as an entrepreneur, I think is a wise thing. It's especially when you get in the habit of wearing all the hats. because you have to when you're first starting out, right? Like that's legit. You have to wear all the hats. But there comes that time where it's like you can let those hats go. Some people don't want to let go of the hats because they think it means something about them. And I mean, the only thing that it means is that's not your hat to wear. It's okay.
The only thing that it means is that you're overworked and you're probably taking 3 times as long to do it. Like, have you ever tried to do design work if you're not a designer? People are always like, oh, it'll just take me a minute. I'll put together a flyer.
Don't call me out like that. Don't call me out like that. For years, I did my own design because that was what I had to do because that was a thing.
Right, yeah.
And the minute I was able to be free of that, I was like, hallelujah. And I told my designer, I'm like, you saved me easily 1,000 hours of work this year. Easily.
Messing around,
of screwing around in Canva templates or whatever. It's like, you took all of that off my shoulders and saved me 1,000 hours, and like I can go put that to better use, and you're worth every penny. Thank you so much. Right. Stay in the lane that you're meant to be in and recognize your own limitations, and it's okay to take those hats off when you can.
Right. I mean, I know there's entrepreneurial software. I don't know if it still exists, but there was for a while an app called 17 Hats, and it was literally for entrepreneurs who needed to wear 17 hats. And also so as we're talking about this, there's a Shel Silverstein poem from one of the original 2 poetry collections, either Light in the Attic or Where the Sidewalk Ends. I don't remember which one. And it's about 2 guys, and of course Shel Silverstein illustrated his own work. And so there's this picture. It's about this guy. There are 2 men, and one has 1 hat, and one has like 17 hats, like all these hats. And then the guy with 1 hat sells his hat to the guy with all the hats. And the picture of the guy with all the hats, I'll go find it and stick it in the video. But as we're talking about wearing 17 hats, all I can think about is like the precarity that he visually managed to get into the stack of hats on this guy's head. And it's just, it feels precarious to try and wear too many hats. Yeah. And I think sometimes Andy has gotten to where he's like, oh, this feels really precarious. I probably should have taken off some of these hats a while ago. Whoops. But then he just says that. He just says it. He doesn't, there's no self-recrimination. There's no blame. There's just like, whoops, shouldn't have done that. Okay, so we're taking off these 5 hats. And if anyone wants to help me take care of them, that's great. Otherwise, we're just going to have to shuffle things around so that I'm not wearing those hats anymore.
Right.
So I think there's a big degree, we haven't said this explicitly yet, but the theme we keep coming back to is knowing yourself, knowing your community, knowing yourself, knowing your company, knowing your scope, and then just returning. You get out and you come back. You get out and you come back, right? Like this.
Right.
We don't have to. We can take every opportunity to know more about ourselves and share more about ourselves with our audiences, with our communities. And the more we know and the more they know, the more likely someone in the community is to be like, Andy, you already tried doing that and it really didn't work. Do you want to get a volunteer to do it this time?
Right.
Like I can totally see him deciding he's
right.
Yeah, I can totally see him deciding he wants to have like a Mutiny Motors conference or something. He hasn't said that, but I can totally see him saying that he would want to have a Mutiny Motors conference and being like, it'll be fun, it'll be easy, and somebody in his community being like, it would be easy for me. How about if I organize a Mutiny Motors 2-day event in Detroit?
Right, exactly. It will not be easy for you, Andy. Like, you've never done this before. Have someone help you, please. Yes, exactly.
Well, and also, your hands are full. We really want you to keep working on the K truck and keep working on, both the racing truck and the regular truck, and building the community and figuring out the marketing and distribution and supply chains and who's going to bend all this pipe anyway. And
right.
And like those are things you know about. So please do that. And your community loves you and wants to help you. So your community will pick up the rest of it, whatever the rest of it is.
Exactly.
Final thoughts.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
And I think that, the knowing yourself piece and knowing how what you value and what matters to you plays into the business that you're trying to create, I really feel like that is a big piece of, that whole, if you don't remember anything from today's episode, right? Like, I think that's a really important thing for us to keep in mind, is like, when you start to deviate from what's true for you, all kinds of ish comes up. And Andy has done a very good job of staying true and coming back to, like that course correction, coming back to center. Oh, I went over here. Let me come back. That's not a job that ever ends. There's always a distraction pulling you. Ooh, some bright, shiny object that's pulling you someplace else. As an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things to say that you want to say yes to. The goal is really to keep remembering, but what's true? Mm-hmm. What really matters? What's really at the core of this, and keep coming back to that, because that will be the North Star that guides you and your project to success.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, to just circle back a little bit to your sorry, Simon comment earlier, I think that for a lot of people, values are the why.
Sure.
And when values are your why, then yeah, that's where you start. Is, I'm doing this because I want the world to be a better place. I'm doing this because I think that we in the business world can do better. I'm doing this because I want to use my resources and my talents to support people. In my cross-country drive, I have a friend who's a mechanic, and in my cross-country drive, my car started acting really weird. And I was able to call up my friend and be like, car's acting really weird. I'm in Idaho. Like, help. And he spent probably several hours paging through the parts catalog, trying to figure out if what the mechanic that he found for me in the little town where I was telling me the truth. And he wasn't. There is no vent valve in your gas tank.
Interesting.
As it turns out. There is a vent valve outside your gas tank, but you do not need to spend $3,000 to replace your gas tank to fix the vent valve.
Holy moly. Woo!
Lessons learned. So I think that ability to know, like, I want to use my skills and my gifts to help people in my community, and that's part of how he runs his business. That's part of what he does with his knowledge of cars, and that's part of what I try to do with my knowledge of businesses and people and organizations and community, and that's part of what you try to do. Like, I think that underlying value is also kind of what's driving Andy, which is what's drawing people to his project. Is like, people are like, finally, a company that wants to do something good. Yes, please sign me up. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, it's the people's truck.
Right. It's the people's truck. Where can people find you?
I am on several of the social media outposts as Lisa Robin Young. Robin's got 2 B's. If you only use one, you will not find me. Or head over to my website, lisarobinyoung.com.
And I am at Allegiano Consulting, allegianoconsulting.com, and also on social media, but really the best way to find me is to message me more directly. I get kind of overwhelmed by social media, and then I don't see my messages. But if you come looking for me, you'll find me. I'm also obviously on YouTube, and in person more and more. I'm now in Baltimore, so
exciting. I miss you.
I miss you too. I'm sorry we didn't get to spend more time together when I was in Portland, but next time you're in Baltimore, let me know.
Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. We will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening. This has been PowerPivot Season 3, a podcast about using the power in your business for good, with host Leela Sinha of the Intensives Institute and Allegiano Consulting. With Zim, you heard co-host Lisa Robin Young. The podcast is produced by Leela Sinha with support by William Jameson. To support our podcast and other related work, please consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/LeelaS.